back to Bernier in the middle. Bernier sees Felipe open. Felipe runs. Felipe says DeVayo. DeVayo's open. DeVayo shoots. Oh my word, it's off the Woodworkx.
Good day, good night, and welcome to a historic moment in the history of the Off the Woodworkx Soccer Podcast. The Montreal Impact went to Mexico, battled hard, took the lead, almost held on, but at the end, they drawed, they tied, and they're coming back to Montreal with a 2-2 draw on Mexican soil. Welcome to Off the Woodworkx Postgame Show. I am Kevin Larman. First of all, I had a great night tonight at the Casual Sport Saint-Honor with GS Bonival from the 127 supporters group. It was a great night filled with Montreal fans and filled with great excitement after Diliduca, or should I say Dilituca, scored a brace, put the Impact in front 2-0. And then CONCACAF just CONCACAF'd us, and eventually a Mexican team just tied it up, but Montreal held on. They fought hard. Just ask the right eye of Evan Bush. Should I say the left eye of Evan Bush? How hard they fought. They fought tooth and nails. They scratched. They clawed. They did everything they could to get that draw. And for once, you know what I was thinking when I was watching the game? For once, with the players like Piatti and such, well, we played that game. We played that gamesmanship game. And at the end of the night, we are coming back home with 2 goals scored on the road. And not trailing. 2-2. Which is more than I could have asked for before the beginning of the game. Yes, I know my voice is a little shoddy. That tells you the type of night I had. It was a great night. Oh, when Duca scored that first goal, that mother Duca, holy cow. Holy cow. I lost my, you know what. And when he scored his second, the whole place lost his crap. I was at Cajos Pass Saint-Honor. It was the official visioning party for the Montreal Impact. And I just lost my crap when Duca scored his second. And eventually that free kick goal by Perez it wasn't Perez. Perez is the goalkeeper. What's the name of the guy who scored the keeper? I think it's worth mentioning. Because it was a great, you have to say it. It was a great 23-yard free kick by Oliveira. There's nothing we could have done to stop that free kick, you know? And eventually New England, what's his freaking name? The other guy too, you know? Those freaking Mexican name. I know I don't have the nicest pronunciation, but it doesn't matter. Nahuelpan, Arel Nahuelpan, who tied the game at the 60th minute at Estadio Hidalgo. First of all, the 30th or something, I don't know how many supporters of the Impact were there, but hats off to you all for traveling down there in the peril of your life almost and supporting your club. And you got something you don't really get when Montreal supporters travel. Not just a result, but 2 goals on the road. Dilituca. What a game. Career night for him. Anyways, going back to that game, if you would have asked me before that game what I would wanted, and the prediction I made was I wanted Montreal to score at least 1 goal and not come back home with a deficit. More than 2 goals. So I was predicting 3-1 Pachuca. And coming out of the Estadio Hidalgo, Montreal's 2-2 with 2 goals on the road. I'm astonished. I'm floored. I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. But the thing is, in the process of watching that game, they were up 2-0. And I got my hopes up a little too high. Like a lot of Montreal supporters, I guess. I got my hopes. I was like, wow, we'll be the first ever Canadian team to win on the road in Mexico. Blah, blah. Eventually, CONCACAF came back with a hurry. Free kick was fine. The referee did a couple of bad spots, but not on that first free kick. I'm not going to lie, that first free kick was deserved. And on the second goal, it was a miscommunication between Laurent Simon, which I have to say, I have been impressed. I love you, Laurent. Laurent is a great addition to Montreal Impact. His presence at the center back he's beast-like. And he's not the only one. Rio Coker, Jiro. We've seen some great things on the pitch tonight. We really did. It was a great moment. The quest for a moment was accomplished. The mission was accomplished in Mexico. And now, the other mission is in Montreal. As stupid as that it sounds, if Montreal keeps that 0-0 at the Big O, well, Montreal's through to the semifinals, and they tie TFC for the furthest journey in that now the Scotiabank's CONCACAF Champions League tournament. And it's in arm's reach, people. Right now, I'm mixed. It's a mixed bag between the fact that Montreal did get a result in Mexico, and I'm happy got 2 goals on the road. I'm happy as hell. But they were up 2-0. But you have to remember, Montreal is still in their training camp. It was their first competitive game in the season with 11 new players, 7 of them starting tonight. If you're talking about the Rio Cokers, the Donadel, the Sima, Sumare, Toya, Cabrera, Oduro. A lot of new players starting from Montreal. Which, by the way, I was 10 out of 11 for predicting the start of 11. The only one that I missed was Cabrera. But it's fine. He was under the radar, and Miller and Kamara had the tourist sickness, or maybe the sickness of the country. Anyways, they were right. Kamara finally, at the end, made his appearance in the game around the 70th minute. A little past that, he did make a good presence, got a yellow card, which is not surprising by Kamara, and it could have been a red. You know how Kamara is, and Kamara's been playing that way for the last couple of years, but it happens, and at least it's in Mexico, and still, I'm glad. 2-2. Going back to the fact that it's 2-2, going back to Montreal, on a hard concrete pitch in the Big O, conditions that Pachuca are not used to playing in. Pachuca did have their A-team on the field tonight. Jürgen Damm did start, even though Jürgen Damm was basically non-existent tonight. He was not a threat for Pachuca. We basically did not see him the whole 75 minutes that he played on the field. And that's a good thing for Montreal. They were able to stop Jürgen Damm, which probably can tell you what would have happened if they did not do that. Montreal would not have come out of that game with a result, with a draw, if they would not have shut down Jürgen Damm. Yes, Noel Pan and the other dude scored on that free kick. Fine. 2 goals that, well, 1 goal is a free kick and it's a bad foul. Yeah, we're expecting that to happen eventually. We're used to it. It's CONCACAF for F's sakes. So we know what we're going into. And then the second goal, which is a miscommunication between Evan Bush and Laurent Simon. And that's to be expected too. First competitive game they ever played together. They've only been playing together for a couple of weeks. Laurent Simon is coming from a totally different type of soccer playing, country playing type. And his first competitive game is in Mexico, of all places, with the Montreal Impact. So there was a lot of things, a lot of intangibles going against Montreal. And after all that, they get a result. They get a 2-2 draw. Again, Dile Tuca. First of all, let's tip our hat to Dile Tuca. A career performance. His first ever multiple goal game as a professional in Major League Soccer or above. So, nothing to say. Laurent Simon showed us he's going to be probably the best addition Montreal did in the offseason. Even though he came like a gift onto our lap, we are going to grab him and use him and be able to squeeze every single ounce of potential out of him and get some points out of it. And just because of him, I think we're going to make the playoffs. Right now, I have to admit, after one game of CCL, I predict Montreal makes the playoff just because of the number 23. The presence he has, the intimidation factors, and just the fact that he's not going to get intimidated by any other players, Mexican, American, whatever in the world. He's not scared. You've seen that before, and he has a confidence to him that we're not used to see with Montreal back. And just with that 90 minutes of play that I've seen Sima played with a blue jersey on, I'm already sold. I already love the guy. Speaking of another guy that I love, Rio Coker. Damn, I was not sold when that guy was picked up by the Impact from Chivas USA. But I have to say, after his first minutes of play, I was convinced. He does have a presence that is intimidating. Him and Donadell, even though Donadell, the last 40 minutes of the game, he couldn't physically hang with the other rest of the players on the field. Pachuca's in the middle of their season. They had that fitness advantage, that form advantage, and it showed in Donadell's play. Still, him and Rio Coker showed me a type of chemistry that I would not have predicted for two guys that never knew each other a couple of months ago, that never probably heard of each other before a couple of months ago. Same thing needs to be said for Soumaré and Sima. I was harsh on Soumaré's signing, or trade, or the pickup in the way of the second re-entry draft. Soumaré is, in the history of Soumaré, he's been known as a reckless player. He was a little reckless at some times, but at least it didn't cost the team tonight. Well, at least not too much. And so far, so good. Him and Sima have had a surprising chemistry for two players that, again, basically never heard of each other if you go a couple of months in the past. So that was great. Evan Bush got a couple of great moments in that game. Could have been a little bit better on that second goal, but what do you want to do? He had the Pachuca's Ultra, or the Pachuca's supporters, in the back of him for the whole first half. He had things thrown at him, coins, beans, stuff thrown at him, and being injured, bad word thrown at him. He was cursed at throughout the whole first half, and he was able to at least keep some sort of focus and concentration to help Montreal at least take a lead in the first half. So I have to say, people, I am surprised and happily surprised how the Impact kept it together in that game. Yeah, they allowed to somewhat late goal, but the last goal was at the 68th minute. It wasn't like the goal at the 98th. It didn't collapse. It was goals that were deserved for Pachuca. So at the end of the day, I have to say, the Montreal Impact surprised me tonight. A 2-2 draw. That if you would have asked me before the game again, I would say impossible. But at the end of the day, Montreal Impact scored 2 goals on the road. They're going back home March 3rd. Get your tickets, people. They're coming back to the Big O on a field where they will have an advantage, with just needing to keep it scoreless to move on to the semifinals and tie Toronto as the Canadian team that makes it furthest in the history of the Scotiabank's CONCACAF Champions League. All right. I think that wraps it up for tonight. Thanks for listening to the post-game show on Off the Woodworkx, and get ready for a preview show in the next couple of days. We'll get someone to talk about that preview March 3rd. Big O, 7 p.m. Get your tickets and come and see me at the Big O. And until then, have a great soccer.